Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of The Elevator. It's been a while. And today we have another special guest here to talk about topics such as Lunar New Year, recent xenophobia events, as well as IVC resources that can help people along the way. So here with Celina Lee, would you like to introduce yourself and a bit about your role in IVC?
Sure. Thank you, Charlize. Hi, everyone. My name is Celina Lee. I am a librarian at IVC Library. I've been with IVC for about, seven and a half years, I think. And my role at IVC Library, so there are 4 full-time librarians. I'm one of them. And my role is to oversee a few things. So we all kind of divide these different areas of running the library. So I oversee circulation, reserves, EOPS, interlibrary loans, social media, events, outreach, equity. So those are my technique, and we all do instruction. So all the librarians at IVC all do instruction, and all do collection development, meaning we select materials for either online or in print. We select materials for our campus community. And so that's just a little bit about what I do at IVC. I'm also a mom of a toddler, and I have a fur baby as well. So that's where I am.
Yeah. Fur babies are very important, just as important as human babies.
Yeah, my fur baby came first, so.
The first older child.
Yes. Celina, forgive me. Wasn't your fur baby like the library fur baby? Am I like I'm just trying to remember the dog, right? Is that what you're referring to?
The dog?
Wait, did you have a dog?
I have a dog.
Oh, okay. Is that what you meant by fur baby?
Yeah, I have a dog.
Yes. Okay.
Fur baby. Yes. Yes, my little Shih Tzu, she's sleeping, and she's been sick this past week, so I'm not gonna wake her up. But otherwise, I would kind of show her off. But yeah,
it's okay.
She came first, and so yeah.
All right, great. Well, welcome, Celina. Thank you for helping us out here.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Okay, this is already off topic, but I was wondering how have the librarians of IVC adapted to the campus shutdown and everything that's have to do with the pandemic?
Sure. I would say we work with a fantastic team. So not just the librarians, but the library staff as well. We really did not skip a beat. We kind of were anticipating potential shutdown. So we already have a strong online presence in terms of our electronic resources, like our databases and ebooks and stuff. So what we, and I have to give a shout out to Brandy Eidelman. She's our newest librarian. She oversees the specific instruction, coordinating all the instruction. So she didn't skip a beat. She transformed quite literally overnight our library workshops into online and self-paced modules. So she has been we've been working at it, she's been working at it. So she just literally sort of moved that deadline really early to launch it. So we launched the self-paced workshops through Canvas, where students can, go through learning about research skills, how to evaluate information, how to do citation properly, and all that stuff on their own. And then they will earn a badge to show their instructors for extra credit, if they will. And then we also are doing the live Zoom workshops. And so the different aspects, we just kind of looked at all the basic functions of our services and how we can adapt and meet the students' needs. So one thing, my area, we particularly struggled with was reserves and circulation, right? Checking out materials to students. And that was not an option for a while. And so last semester, I worked on different ideas along with the whole library team and what is feasible in terms of providing access, and we came up with a mail service program. So we, if you go to our library website, you'll see a little banner that advertises about the mail service program. And if you click on it, you'll see more details about how that works. So basically you can look up in our library online catalog for resources. If it's print material, you can submit a request. Our library team will see the request, will confirm your shipping address, and we'll pack up the material, ship it to your house. And that's all free of charge, as long as it's
Really?
Yes, it's free of charge as long as it's shipped within California. And so the library is, yeah, like I said, we have a fantastic team. So that's what we're doing in terms of checking out our physical resources. The only thing that we're still really struggling is the reserves portion of providing service, because I know a lot of students really relied on accessing textbooks in our reserve collection. And our hands are really tied with that one because of copyright restrictions from the publishers. And we consulted our district lawyers. They basically said, no, you cannot scan the textbooks and put them online. And so we have investigated. Yeah, legally, we're not allowed to do that. So we have investigated, we reached out to publishers and different options to get quotes to see what we can do. We reached out to different vendors, but none of them seems viable enough because, let's be frank, we don't have millions of dollars to provide that. And that's what the publishers were asking from us. And so, as you can see, I am in the business of public service and not the publishers. So and then we have our online library chat. So this is, sorry, the long-winded answer. We have our online library chat that still maintains our regular library hours, which is 8 to 10, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 4 Friday, and then Saturday, 10 to 2:30. And the only day we're closed is Sunday. So we still have that where students can reach out to a live librarian, and we do monitor our phone numbers. So if students were to call, we either call them back or sometimes we even answer the call. And so it's been, I would say in the beginning of the semester where students are really struggling to figure out which department, which area to get help or get response, like a live person help. It's always been sort of gratifying when you help a student. They're like, oh, you're not a robot, you're an actual live person, to help, so no, it's we're here to help you.
Human interaction.
And we provide research support that way. So
So when Celina, you tell me I'm working the reference desk, that's the portion that you're referencing.
That's what I'm doing.
So you're on chat, you're doing your thing, you're responding. So with the virtual chat, that's obviously, back and forth type of deal. Is there a possibility if a student wanted to or someone wanted to interact with you face to face through that, the chat, is that have you done that? If so, how does that work?
Absolutely. So our chat is embedded through our website. Any web page that you come through the IVC library, you'll see a chat pop up. If you linger long enough, we'll be like, hey, do you need help? So that initiates a chat. And then anytime that if we feel like, the back and forth typing is not sufficient, we can start a screen share Zoom session right away from there. And
Excellent.
then, or if that's not an option, depending on the technology available to the student at the other end, we have done I would just call the student, give me your phone number, I'll call you, walk you through the steps and how to do something. Yeah. So we're more than happy to meet students where you are and how we can best support you. And we're happy to hear any feedback. What we try to do is to try to meet you where you are in terms of where your needs are during this pandemic to support your studies. But, we're doing our best to guesstimate, right? So if you can provide feedback, we're happy to have that so that we know realistically we want to direct our resources and our energy to be most efficient and impactful as possible. Yeah.
Great.
Awesome.
Wow. Yeah.
That is truly amazing.
Yeah. It seems like you're really, it seems like you're really passionate and you put a lot of care into your work. So yeah, y'all appreciate our librarians, please.
Thank you. I think I can speak for at least all my other colleagues at IVC. We are in this profession because we want to help. We want to assist students. We want to connect people to their resources. That's the gratifying part of our job. I mean, we can go to committee meetings, we can, do collection development and pick out books, but that's not the fun part of our job, or the gratifying part of our job. It really is, the one-on-one interaction. The student go, I'm really struggling finding this article, I'm really struggling doing this research paper. Where do I start? And then, we walk them through the steps and empower them with the skill sets and the resources available, and that give them a positive experience, right? So.
Yeah, I cannot help but say kudos to you and the rest of the library folks, because I think when the jump came, I think you were already had your hands into the technological components of it all. I know between Cheryl, Brandy, you and Tony, everyone was kind of doing a variety of different digital distance educational tools and resources that were available. And so I think because you kind of all had that running start, making that shift to when the pandemic hit was actually kind of natural. It was just okay, it's like you rolled up your sleeves a little bit more, as opposed to people starting from at the starting point and really trying to exactly to try to make sense of how to either administer their class or interact with students. So I'm very appreciative of the amount of labor that everyone did, and also kudos to you all, especially over the summer when things had kind of gone haywire with the passing of George Floyd and the protests. The level of commitment that came from all of your colleagues and you all for the social justice pages were huge. I just think that was amazing work that you all did. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm going to give another shout out to Brandy Eidelman. She's the one who initiated the social justice library resource guide.
Yes, Brandy.
And Brandy is awesome. And we are all of us are really passionate about equity and issues and social justice issues. And I think as just not just in terms of at IVC, I think librarianship in general, we've always been the forefront of championing equality and equity and just diversity and inclusion. These are the issues that, at least since I've been in library school, it's been ringing in my ears nonstop. And so I just find the rest of the campus is finally sort of, getting into this equity and diversity inclusion sort of work. But in the library field, it's been around for a while. I think it's because traditionally library is seen as the gatekeeper of resources, and we've been really sort of revamping with technology. Librarians, we have to keep up with technology because information technology changes the way we access and use and interpret, evaluate information. It's just something that's in our DNA, whatnot. So we all been teaching online and for years, and we're all really familiar with best practices of online pedagogy. So we did not skip a beat. We're just all right, let's get to it. Let's get to work. And so we have a great team, and our library staff has been really supportive. And I think the dynamics of our team is great because they're the ones that are hey, have you thought about this aspect? Or I just heard from a student calling in and this is what they're struggling with. And I'm that's awesome, great feedback. Let's see how we can modify, tweak our services to meet those issues, so
Great.
So we have a great team.
That's great.
That's absolutely awesome. And I feel this is all mostly news to me because honestly, I've really underutilized the IVC Library as a resource. I honestly didn't know that they had so many things available coming from, normal high school, middle school, where the libraries are basically just places to sit and eat. But I only use the IVC Library as a studying space, but and occasionally went to a workshop. I think I went to a workshop on specifically MLA formatting for essays. But it's really cool to know that you guys actually help people learn how to do research and proper citations and things like that. Because I think that's probably one of the biggest struggles transitioning from high school to college is the research paper with all that dense academic, those dense academic articles and things like that. It's one of the most hardest transitions. And the database the online database for everything has been my lifesaver. I love that database so much.
Oh, great.
Looking into all the things. And so I personally appreciate what you guys are doing. And it's really amazing how above and beyond you guys have gone to increase accessibility through the pandemic.
Yeah, we try. We really try, because I think for the students that rely on the library the most are the students that are most impacted by this pandemic, right? The students that will, may not have maybe the financial resources to buy or purchase the resources. So then that's where the libraries come from. And I think, yeah, that's where we really strive to achieve as well. So just to meet the students where you are.
Yeah, so February, Black History Month has, passed, as well as Lunar New Year. And from your, to get to know you a little bit more, how did you celebrate it, and what differences did you see or feel for this year versus the years before because of COVID?
Okay. Just a little bit of background about me. So I'm Taiwanese American. Let's say I'm first generation. I'm learning all these new vocabulary because it's like, these are the labels that how society would label me, but not necessarily how I would label myself. So, but I am, I came here when I was 12. I born and raised in Taiwan. I spent a little bit of my childhood in Hong Kong. So I am fluent in Mandarin, Chinese, as well as Cantonese. Let's see, just to be quite brutally honest about this year, I did not celebrate Lunar New Year at all. Like, it did not happen.
Okay.
It did not happen at all, just because we're in full on shelter in place mode. It's and like I said, I have a toddler, so I feel like every day they're just kind of like survival, keep my head above the water mode. So if I want to do special activities, I have to devote more emotional labor of planning things in advance so it will roll out, which I did not have the energy to do this past month. But just traditionally for Lunar New Year, we would meet up with my mom. So she's my only extension of family here, actually. And so we would meet up to have, Chinese New Year meals. She generally give out red envelope to my daughter. I can talk a little bit about in terms of the traditions that I grew up with that I sort of, am missing. If I were to fly back to Taiwan and celebrate with family, those would be the traditions that, would take place. So now that I'm a mom, I think about these traditions a lot, right? Because you really think about passing on the oral histories or the traditions of your cultural identity to your offspring. And so I do think about it, and I think I definitely need to devote a little more energy in the future to make sure it happens. But this year, I think I can speak for many people that just being in a pandemic and all of these social injustice issues that are compounding on top of each other, it becomes really difficult just to get through the day. And so I just practice gratitude if I could get through a day without, losing my. So,
of course.
Anyways, so in terms of thinking about like cultural traditions, things that really come up are, so New Year's Eve is a huge deal in my childhood as I growing up. New Year's Eve, before leading up to the new year, we would clean the house. In fact, that's still something I do. I don't necessarily do on Lunar New Year, but I do it on like December 31st. My husband knows this. I am like a freak to clean the house December 31st or leading up to December 31st. Like, do not mess with me when I have to clean. Yes, like top down clean. I'm not talking about general clean. No, I'll clean things I normally don't clean. I would take off the oven knobs and wash them. I would take out the refrigerator drawers and wipe them down. That's the extent of cleaning, right?
Yeah,
because it's about, and I think about it, I reflect on it in my adult life, why that tradition is still so impactful for me, because I think there is something to be said about starting a year new, right? Versus, in yeah, clean slate. And in Chinese tradition, doing that cleaning it's a symbolic thing in terms of not just a clean slate, but also like get rid of the bad luck, get rid of the bad things, so then you'll make space for the good things. So I think that's a really powerful way of thinking about not just like our physical space. Of course, there's a lot of like research that has done about your physical clutter can clutter your mind and stuff like, right? Yeah. So I'm definitely like that too. Like when I have to do deep work, I know I have to clean my desk first, because otherwise that just doesn't flow well. So there's
don't look at my desk right now.
Oh yeah,
I'm staying up here.
Yeah,
but I get it.
Yeah, so that's one of the traditions that I definitely sort of hold on to, because it really speaks to me in terms of the mindset of welcoming a new year, new opportunities, new possibilities, right? And then so besides that, the cleaning, I traditionally, like, the family would gather on New Year's Eve and have a feast. All of the meals will be prepared. There are significant foods that we would eat, like, noodles that signify longevity or long life, right? There's dumplings that traditionally looks like yuanbao, which is the currency in old Chinese culture, like, right? So they signify wealth or money. And so I miss those dishes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking, if I were to pass on something, I definitely probably would do this when my daughter's a little older, is that I'll make dumplings with her. We'll make dumplings with her, from scratch. And that's something that my grandmother has taught me. I have memories of sitting around the table and wrapping the dumplings, right? And then there's going to be fish, because fish in Chinese, yu, if you combine that with year, which is nian, or new year, nian you yu, it symbolically means every year you have something left over, meaning you always have prosperity, that you have so much, you always have something left over, right? Not as a bad thing for the things you left over. It just means like your cup runneth over, kind of, if I had to translate it that way into Western sort of.
That's really interesting. Symbology. I haven't heard that term before.
Yeah, and so those are the traditions, and those are just a few. There's definitely gonna be like firecrackers. I remember firecrackers and red envelopes. I remember like being really excited about collecting red envelopes, and then my cousins and I would sit around and open them together and see how much we each got, and then and then we would like take our money and then go buy like fireworks or go buy treats and
immediately.
Immediately, and go buy something and play with. And then in my childhood, for New Year's Eve, like, the family would stay, would eat, the adults would play mahjong, the kids would play together, and we all wait until like midnight pass. So like you all welcome the new year together, and you wear new clothes, colorful clothing and stuff like that. So so those are the fun times in my childhood. And then Lunar New Year technically ended on Friday, I think, if I recall, because every year the date is a little bit different. It ends on what we call it Lantern Festival here. In Chinese,
right.
in Chinese it's called Yuan Xiao Jie. And so because New Year's Day starts when the moon is the lowest or the least full, and then it ends when the moon is full, right? So Yuan Xiao Jie, Yuan in Chinese can also, although the character is not that meaning, but it sounds like full, means everything is full and circular and well and perfect, sort of. And also Yuan Xiao is a time, it's kind of, I equate it to like Thanksgiving, where all family will gather again. It's important for family to travel from far apart, far away to gather again and get together. So in Chinese, it's called 团圆. Yuan Xiao 团圆 means you all get together and the family's complete. So yuan, it can also signify being complete or being whole. So it's a celebration, and you know, you drink tea, you eat significant things like glutinous rice dish, because glutinous rice, the Chinese have so much symbology and like things. If you think about it, it's like the glutinous rice is because it's sticky, so you eat niangao, either tangyuan, which is like a tiny little like rice dumpling with, it could be filled with usually red bean paste, right? And then it's generally in soup, or you can eat niangao, which is like a rice cake. It could be sweet or it could be savory. And so the whole thing about the stickiness of it, the stickiness of the glutinous rice cake, the stickiness of the little rice dumplings, it's signify the bond of family that you stick together.
Aww.
Yeah.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
I didn't know that there was so much significance in sticky rice.
Yeah. Thank you, Celina, for that, because I can
Yeah.
always rely upon you, because like your wealth of knowledge for all these traditions is so like awesome. Like seriously, because it's like, really, I had no idea. Like because you know, sometimes if you grow up in it, you really don't really can really grasp on what it is. All I know is like I dress up. You get an envelope, I get money, but I really don't know what it all like is all about.
Yeah. So definitely, I think me being able to explain these traditions also had to do with, I had to explain these traditions to a lot of people before. Like I didn't. I didn't understand it myself, like you said, Eddie. You know, growing up in these, you're just like, this is just what we do. What do you mean? Like I don't know, right? And then
Give me money.
So exactly, it's just like, oh, red envelope, cool. Like I can go shopping, you know. But it is learning to explain to my ABC friends, you know, who did not grow up in that, immersed in that culture. Learning to also, there's a book called Good Luck Life that I have, and I can definitely direct that in that resource in the library. We have that, that explain all of these traditions in English, because traditionally it was difficult for me. You know, if you asked me the same question maybe like 10, 15 years ago, I would have really struggle explaining it, because it's difficult for me to, you know, in my childhood mindset, in my experiences and thinking in Mandarin, to kind of translate that into English and then like make it digestible to a, you know, Western perspective, right? And so, yeah, it takes some time to kind of learn to navigate.
I'm going to read the heck out of that.
Yeah, it's really fun. It's a really fun read. It talks about all of these different, it starts on the New Year, talks about all of these different traditional Chinese holidays throughout the year.
Great.
Yeah. So the parts that I find meaningful, impactful, is the parts I hang on to, because I don't necessarily feel there's a need to practice the tradition down to a T, or practice all the traditions, or give myself the pressure of, you know, practicing all the traditions right, quote unquote right, or in some way, because I feel like traditions are only meaningful if they have some sort of impact for you, right? For you and your family. And so for those of us who are living here in the United States, we are, for better or worse, assimilated. You know, we are speaking in English majority of the time. We are immersed in this culture most of the time. And there's nothing wrong with making new. There's nothing wrong with, you know, creating something new in your family tradition that adapts from the old tradition into something that works for your family here, right? Because the important thing is just to remember where we come from and to honor our heritage in the way that we celebrate it and be proud of it, right? And that's all I have to say about that.
I really agree with that. And I think a lot of people, especially during this time, since we've had to give up a lot of what traditions that we've had at not just Lunar New Year, but like every other holiday that we celebrate, usually involving family. Not being able to practice those traditions this year doesn't mean that we have forsaken them. It doesn't mean that they're not less valuable to us, because in a pandemic, we need to protect the people we love. And the best way to protect them is by social distancing, staying inside our homes, making sure everything is sanitized and things like that, because the traditions, just practicing a tradition for the sake of the tradition is performative if you're forsaking the safety of the people involved. So yeah, and hopefully over time we'll be able to have the same thing again. But for now, we can also try to adapt. Like my family, we don't practice New Year, but we do practice Thanksgiving and Christmas. And so we did Zoom calls with my grandmother, although she didn't quite understand that the Zoom call was a live talking experience. We were all together and we talked and laughed and shared songs. And my aunt dropped off Christmas presents through the garage, and I yelled "thank you" from my bedroom window. And even though it kind of hurt that it had to be from that distance, it's still worth it, you know, because even if the connection isn't as deep as it was before, it's for the safety of everyone.
Right.
So yeah.
Well, I mean, because the one thing about like, cultural traditions, right? And especially when I think about Lunar New Year and Chinese New Year, Taiwanese New Year, Vietnamese New Year, when you're celebrating these type of holidays, right? And it's the notion of, spending time with family and being in that collective state with thy loved ones. I cannot help but think, not only this Lunar New Year has been so unique because it's the first Lunar Year during the pandemic, because when the pandemic happened last year, it happened afterwards, right? But this is when we're actually going through it. And what's unfortunate is, well, now in this current state of affairs, especially in our recent times, Lunar New Year is here, but then at the same time, we're also dealing with a pandemic that has been, let's face it, been linked to Asian cultures, Asian groups. And we've seen the horrific examples of the various things that have kind of happened to community members. The passing of the 84-year-old man in San Francisco who was knocked down, another elderly individual being knocked down. And I guess the recent events that have occurred have been attacks on like elderly family members. So I don't know, knowing where we are, where we're now and all that other stuff, is there something that, you may want to offer, or at least, kind of like share out as we kind of embark, again, coming on that milestone of the year, being in the pandemic, dealing with xenophobia and, just kind of like starting the new year fresh in this regard. So, yeah.
Yeah. So on a personal level, I definitely am heartbroken to learn about these events and see these events, because there's so much pain and suffering and injustice. And of course, I'm worried about my mother. I'm worried about my in-laws, all of my elderly relatives that are here, or my husband's relatives that are here. Even though he's Japanese American, but hey, people don't know the difference. So, right. So
just see the Asian monolith.
Exactly, right. So they see a certain skin tones or a facial feature, they just make assumptions, right? In terms of, so at first I thought I don't really know how to talk about this, but then as I really sort of dig into it and think about it, I realized I do have stuff to say. I just have stuff to say, but I'm not sure if I can articulate it well enough. So on the macro level, I just think about the rhetoric of dehumanization, right? That is so prevalent across our country, and definitely, I think that definitely played a role into, not that racism didn't exist before, but I feel like it's so prevalent now, the language of dehumanization, because if we were to be honest with ourselves, humans are not wired neurologically to be able to hurt other humans like that if we actually see each other as human beings with humanity.
Good
Right.
point.
So it is the language and the rhetoric of dehumanization that enables us to start treating other people as other, to start looking at them lesser than, to start putting them as a scapegoat, to start blaming and finger pointing. And so, and I'm not going to, and full credit to Brene Brown, which I'm a huge fan, and Eddie heard me talk about Brene Brown all the time in our circle, but Brene Brown's work on, you know, accountability and dehumanization. So I think on the macro level in the country, I think about the people that are committing these hate crimes, right? They're humans too. Not that I condone their actions, right? So I just think about how we're all struggling in some way or form during this pandemic, and it is very anxiety provoking. It is very stressful. If you are not deliberately and conscious about managing your own stress, it's very easy as a human being to start blaming other people, to start scapegoating and hope, and then start channel your rage and anger to other people. So I'm talking on a humanity level here. That how do we hold those actions of hate crime accountable, because they are not, we should not be tolerating them in our society. So how do we hold the action accountable, but hold humanity and hold space for the human beings? Because they're probably struggling, they're probably scared. You know, we only act out and do stuff like this when we're scared. And I think about this a lot because I'm a parent. I think about this a lot, right? I think about this a lot because because I have a toddler. You see how humans are wired, right? They're only quote unquote misbehaving when they're scared, tired, hungry, frustrated, right? And then so I'm scared. I think fear is a powerful driving force. So how do we as a society, you know, hold those actions, that terrible actions, accountable so they don't happen again, but at the same time heal our society so that we don't perpetuate this hate, right? Because I can stand here and condemn these actions all I want, but it doesn't heal, it doesn't prevent it from happening. So the only way to heal is with love and compassion, right? Because I just think about what Martin Luther King Jr. talks about, you know, darkness cannot drive darkness out, only light can, right? Hatred cannot end hatred, only love can. And so on a human level, it's not an easy question, and I'm posing it as a question because I don't have all the answers. I just think the only way is to be able to see the humanity in each other, and how we see the humanity for each other is to stand up and speak up, right? Stand up and speak up when you see something that is not right, and stand up and speak up even if you see the language of dehumanization being used against the perpetrators, right? Because they're humans too. So and try to be conscientious of that, right? Because it's easy for me to stand in my rage and say, you know, these people are terrible, and call them and start calling them out, all kinds of things. But at the same time, then I'm just perpetuating hate. So how do I stop that hate where I am at me? Because the work I can do, the only work I can do, if anything the pandemic has taught me, is that the only work I can do is within myself. The power I have is to do the work within myself. How do I conduct myself with love and compassion so that I don't perpetuate hate? How do I speak truth and justice so that I don't perpetuate injustice and inequitability? So that's where I come.
That was so
amazing.
beautiful.
That deserves a round
Thanks,
of
Celina.
applause.
Oh, thank you.
Happy hands.
Thank you.
Wow.
So with that being said, if someone wanted to learn more about like, you know, the you know, some of the injustices, or even just the notion of
anti-racism.
the
Yeah.
otherization that's out there, especially towards the Asia Pacific Islander community. Like, what recommendations would you have per se?
Sure. So I'm on the library website. So it's just ivc.edu/library. And if you're not sure, if you're coming at the just IVC College website, if you come down here, library services, we'll take you straight to the library homepage. And then from here, I want to point to the Stand Up for Social Justice. So it's a huge banner here. I'm going to minimize. That's the librarian chat that just popped up. So here, Stand Up for Social Justice. And again, shout out to Brandy Eidelman for putting this all together. So we have, some terminologies to kind of get you on the page of using the vocabulary and start articulating some of these thoughts.
Real quick. You have the Tim Wise on white privilege item there. That's a great video, by the way, for those of you who don't know Tim Wise.
On white privilege.
On white privilege. It's a really good video. So I'm just going to shout out. That was great.
Yeah, and then there's a take action tab, if you're an ally. So it talks about educate yourself, engage, listen. If you're not sure how to talk about it, you learn, educate yourself first, right? Be a witness, advocate, support. Donate if you want to various organizations, register to vote, and then learn about systemic racism. So we have a new AAPI one for, again, towards the Asian American, and then Black Lives Matter and Latinx. So if you look at the AAPI one, it still says the page is under construction, but we have books that you can, videos that we found, different links. Awesome. So yeah, these are different resources for gender equality, for LGBTQ plus. And so, as our society is evolving and diversity, equity, inclusion issues are evolving. And as we evolve, we will update and include more resources. So,
great.
Yeah.
That is amazing. And you have it sorted by category too. Yeah. That's so cool.
Yeah. So.
Very cool. Excellent. Yeah. Thanks for sharing.
Wow.
You're welcome.
Who was the one who you said one of the librarians is one who really spearheaded this?
Yeah, Brandy Eidelman is the one who put it together. The entire library team, we all kind of have a hand. We send resources, to it. And then
I'm just thinking she could be our next person to talk to.
You can reach out to her. And then if I come back to the library website, we have the Lunar New Year. If you click on this little tab, it opens up to the Lunar New Year. Talks a little bit about the background. We have videos, library books and ebooks, music, dance, and stuff. And so yours truly put this together.
I know. Thank you again so much.
Yeah.
And then,
I read that one, American Born.
Yep. Yeah. And then I think I put Good Luck. Yeah, Good Luck Life is here. So if you want to submit a request, we'll mail it to you.
Yes.
And then what else? Women's History Month is this month. March is Women's History Month. We haven't put the graphics here yet, but you can see we decided to keep the Black history and the LGBTQ here, permanently, pretty much, because they're the most minoritized and marginalized groups.
Yes.
But if I change this to Women's History,
there it is.
So we have a Women's History.
Oh, cool!
Yes.
Excellent.
So we try to have one, and Persian New Year is also coming. I'm working on that. So every different cultural, we try to have a resource guide available.
Yeah. Well, this is fantastic. Yes. With Persian New Year, when's that coming up? Is that March or April?
It's March. I believe it's March 20th this year. Yeah, and then I have it on my calendar to have it ready by the end of this week. So
got it. Excellent. Yeah. I know I'm probably going to hit you up again for API Heritage Month, which is technically May. And I know May is also Mental Wellness Month. So I'm not to say that we have to have everything for every month. And in April's financial literacy because of tax time, but that's a different story.
Speaking of mental wellness, I did make this one for finals distress. So if you just change this ivclibguides.com to finals distress, I did this for last semester. We were doing some drawings, but obviously that was over. But the resources are still here. So I put together some of the mindful meditation stuff, sleep apps and podcasts and things like that. So I personally I recommend Brene Brown's podcast to anyone who's willing to listen. Unlocking Us is one, and Dare to Lead she has 2 podcasts, Unlocking Us and Dare to Lead. Dare to Lead is about leadership and things like that. But Unlocking Us is really cool about, who we are, how do we connect with each other, about vulnerability and compassion, stuff like that. So it's stuff that I'm fascinated with. Anyway, so there's all of these different self-care, mental wellness, and fun stuff. Yeah, we have fun stuff like puppy cam and kitten cam that we found new, and virtual tour to Yosemite. So this is why I say our library team is awesome, because I just send a request to our library team, and they go and search the web and find the stuff for me to put together. So
wow,
yeah, that's insane.
That's really cool. That's really cool.
Thanks.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm going here right after this, man. Don't you think any otherwise? This is wonderful. You and your team are so amazing for putting all this together.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just wonderful.
Excellent.
Thank you very much.
All right.
It's been an honor to spend this hour with you all.
Yeah, well, we're glad.
We're so honored.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Well, thank you, Celina, for sharing all your insight as well as resources for the IVC Library. And again, for those who want to have more insight on our podcast, check out our social media links in the description below. And that's all for us. See you on the next episode.
All right. Bye. Thank you, everybody.
Cool.